My name is Velda MacKenzie. I live in Prince Edward Island, Canada, and I'm a survivor of type A aortic dissection. It happened on February the 9th, 2020. And here's my story. I used to be before I had the dissection, I was a patient care worker at a psychiatric hospital, doing 12-hour shifts, which was very stressful. I thought I was in shape, but I realized that after all this happened that I had high blood pressure and I wasn't taking care of it. So I ended up on February the 8th going for a walk with my dog, coming home and having terrible heaviness in my chest, pain in my back and up my neck. My arm was numb, and I kept fainting. Just me and my dog here. I live alone, so I kept falling on the floor and fainting, and I realized that something was really wrong. I really got scared. I got my cell phone when I woke up one of the times, and I called 911. And before I knew it, I think I must have passed out in the meantime, because I could hear paramedics talking and telling me what a wonderful dog I had because she never barked at them. She just let them come in the house and take me out to the hospital. So I got to the hospital. It was probably around 5:30 then in the evening. And they couldn't find out what was wrong with me. They kept doing blood work, EKGs, chest x-rays, ultrasound, nothing. Everything looked fine. But my blood pressure would go up and then it would go way down, like 80/60. So the doctor who was in emerged that night. Thank heavens it was him, because he's the youngest doctor in the hospital. He said, we're going to have to give her a CT scan. So sure enough, the CT scan showed up. My aorta was dissecting. And there's no place for surgery here on PEI. So I had to be sent to another province. He contacted Halifax, Nova Scotia, contacted the airport for the medevac plane, and flew me away to Halifax. So that's about an hour's flight. When I got there, the surgeons and the surgical team was already waiting for me. And I remember waking up on the airplane, but my memory is very sketchy then. I remember waking up after the surgery, but before the surgery, my surgeon told me, I woke up before I went in the operating room, told him I was a fitness instructor. So I don't know why I told him that. But so anyway, my surgeon told my daughter after this surgery that there's 3 layers on the aorta to protect to keep the blood inside the aorta. Well, the first layer was broken, the second layer was broken, and the third layer was breaking as they were doing surgery. So when the third layer busts, that's pretty much it. You pretty much bite the dust. So I was really close to ending it all, but they put my body, they lowered the temperature to 18 degrees, and it was deep hypothermic circulatory arrest. So the heart took a break and the brain took a break, and I was 18 degrees. So I'm still cold to this day. 2 days later, I was still fine. I'm always cold. But they repaired my arch on my ascending aorta, gave me a new arch, and did some repair on the root. So I guess I'm A and B. So they did the repair on the root, and then they were done. It was pretty much close to 11 hours, and I hope they had lunch in between. But they went to sew me back up again, to stitch my chest back up again, but there was too much bleeding going on, so they were scared to close me up in case they had to open me again. So they left me overnight, and they didn't leave me out in the hall or anything. I was in ICU. But the next day they closed my chest up. They cleaned it out and closed it up. And then I was put in 2 days. I was put in a coma for 2 days. Tried to wake up after that, and I found it really hard to wake up. I kept going back to sleep. I could open my eyes and I'd see my daughter there, and I think, this isn't true, because she's on vacation in the United States. She was going down to San Diego on vacation. So I knew it wasn't her, but it really was. I kept having delusions, one after the other, after they were so scary. But after I was intubated, so I couldn't talk. Just as well, I guess I probably would have said some bad words. So that was the 10th. No, the 10th I was through a surgery. That was the 12th when I started to wake up again, but they were worried because it was taking me a little bit longer than they anticipated. So they just kept waiting and waiting for me to follow commands, squeeze hands, and do all the little tests to make sure that I was functioning properly in my brain. Then I was in ICU for a few days. Well, it was almost a week. They put me into the step-down unit. And so I was in Halifax Infirmary from February the 9th until the 20th. And the 20th of February, they sent me back to PEI to spend the rest of my time in the local hospital here in Charlottetown, PEI. So that was a terrible trip on the ambulance. I remember waking up and talking to the attendant, but I don't know if that was real or if that was another delusion, because it was hard to figure out what was delusion and what was real. And it was almost like the delusions were realer than the real. You understand what I mean there, because I was having more delusions than I was being in reality. It was really tough. But anyway, I got back to Charlottetown PEI and put in Unit 8. And it was right across from the nurses' station. That was quite an experience too. They tried to get me up after they got the catheter taken out of me. I was wanting to go get up into the bed and move around a little bit. So they started giving me, the physiotherapist would come to the room every day for about half an hour and get me up walking and getting me to do some squats, which I got along pretty good at, because I used to be a fitness instructor. I told the physiotherapist that too, and he kind of chuckled at me. He said, well, you're starting over again, Velda. So really, I really was starting over again, because I was so weak. And I was still getting tube fed when I was in Charlottetown, which was a unique experience too. No wonder I have PTSD, because there's so many odd things that happened to me. I get back on track now. I keep going off track because that's one of the symptoms of being on the heart and lung. I was on the heart and lung machine for quite a long time, and that affects your thought process, your sight. It affects your memory. It affects your whole functioning of living a normal life, which isn't normal anymore. So yeah, I keep losing my focus. So I'm going to try to stay focused. Okay. Thank you. So my son was looking after my dog. My daughter was in visiting me every day. I have 4 grandkids that would come in to visit me too. But as soon as I get back, this is what I wanted to say. As soon as I get back to Charlottetown PEI, COVID was going on, and I just got under the wire. People were visiting me, but just then in March, they cut off the visitors because They didn't want any spread of COVID. So that was people were making a big fuss over COVID, and I was thinking, I just want to live. I don't really care about COVID. So anyway, I did some physiotherapy in the hospital, but not a whole lot. It wasn't enough because they needed the hospital beds for COVID patients who were starting to get coming to the hospital. So anyway, I was sent home on April the 1st. So I was in the hospital from February the 9th until April the 1st. And when I got out, I was still really weak. I couldn't walk very well. They sent a walker home with me and got me a shower chair to sit in and take the shower. And my son, who is my angel, and he was staying with my dog. He was he stayed with me for the whole month of April, and took me for walks every day, did my exercises with me, fixed my meals, did my shopping. He did everything. And because I really wasn't able to do very much. So anyway, that is just about it. For the rest was restorative care. Like, I just had to do exercises every day, go for walks every day. And then I couldn't even meet my surgeon for my first checkup because COVID was happening and we weren't allowed to go from one province to another. We had to stay in, the borders were shut down. So I was getting a CT scan then every 6 months. In that first year that I got home in 2020. And then I met my surgeon in September the next following year, and he gave me a good report. He said everything went really well in the surgery, and I asked him if I could still go ahead with my plan. I had a plan to live and be healthy until I was 100 years old. Because I was a fitness instructor, I was invincible, right? It was like Wonder Woman. And he said, you'll have to take your blood pressure pills every day and walk every day. Don't do any bench pressing because it's too hard on your chest. But no smoking, or he didn't say that I couldn't drink wine, so cheers. And so now I had a CT scan for the first year, and now it's every 2 years. So I see him again next year for a CT scan next year. So I think everything's going okay. I'm still getting into my GP, general practitioner. Every 3 months they do blood work and check my blood. And then every month I see a mental health nurse for my PTSD, because my PTSD is really, it's kind of comes and goes. I can watch or hear an ambulance and it kind of stops me in my tracks. One of my delusions was my house was burning down and the fire truck was there. So every time I see a fire truck, it triggers me again. There's lots of triggers and there's lots of things that happen, but it's just because of the trauma that when you have an aortic dissection emergency, your life pretty much stops being your life anymore, and it's a new life that you're having to live. So I'm living my new life now. Still struggling to get strong again, knowing that if I keep trying a little bit every day, and with my PTSD, I have to work through that with my healthcare nurse. It's very real, and if anybody's out there that's new at this business of aortic dissection, get help for your PTSD and get it treated, because it can do a lot of damage to your life, like it can stop you from living a healthy, happy life. And we all want to be healthy and happy. So, and I'm having another thing with my physiotherapist. I'm getting a physiotherapist to do work with me at once a week on Zoom, which is awesome because she's wanting to do an article for me on Facebook on her business to tell people how important it is to take blood pressure medication if you're diagnosed with hypertension. I was diagnosed with hypertension at least 8 years ago, but I didn't take the medication. I ended up almost dying. So please seek help for your PTSD. And if you have hypertension, just take that little pill once a day. Now I'm taking 3 different kinds of medication 4 times a day to keep my blood pressure down. And yeah, it's a new life, but it's life, and it'll never be the same as it was. But we're working on everything. It's just been 2 years, so I'm still a baby, still a toddler, and I hope everybody. The one thing before I go, I want everyone to know that Aortic Hope gave me hope. After I got out of the hospital, I kept talking to people, and I know a lot of people in the healthcare business, nurses, and I would say to them, I want to talk to someone who had the same thing as I had, who had an aortic dissection, because I had so many questions. Wanted to know if this was right or if that was right. Is it normal to do this or is it typical to do this? And I couldn't find a living soul. I went on Facebook and I searched survivors of aortic dissection, and boom, I found you, Aortic Hope. Never looked back because it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So keep in touch with other people and stay healthy. Thank you for listening to my story.